Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the secrets buried in corporate filings and give you the real scoop. Today we are looking at a filing from Perfect Moment Ltd, and let me tell you, it seems like they are getting ready for a big funding push, but there is a lot of nuance here we need to unpack. This company, Perfect Moment Ltd, filed a Form 8K, which is basically a report for major events that shareholders need to know about right away. Think of it as the company's way of saying, hey, something important just happened and you need to know. The main reason for this filing is to tell us about a significant agreement they've entered into. It is all about how they plan to raise money. So, what is this material agreement we are talking about? It's an equity purchase agreement for us regular folks. This means the company has agreed to sell its stock, its shares, to an investor. And there is a lot of money involved here, up to $25 million. This is a pretty substantial amount for any company, let alone one that is being classified as an emerging growth company. Being an emerging growth company means they are still relatively new, and have some perks like being able to follow less strict accounting rules for a little while longer. It also hints that maybe they are not yet a giant in their industry. Now, this agreement is for their common stock. This is the most basic type of stock that most companies issue. Perfect Moment Ltd plans to sell up to $25 million worth of this stock. The interesting part is how this sale will happen. It's not a simple buy all at once deal. The company has the option, but not the obligation, to ask the investor to buy shares. They can do this from time to time. There are some rules though. They have to buy at least $5,000 worth of stock each time, and no more than $500,000 or 20% of what the company's stock is trading at on average each day. This gives the company flexibility in how much stock they sell, and when. However, this deal isn't a done deal yet. It needs approval from two key groups. First, the company's shareholders, the people who already own stock, need to give their okay. Second, the company's board of directors, the folks in charge of running the show, also need to approve it again. This two-tier approval process suggests that this is a pretty big move for the company. On top of the stock purchase, they've also signed a registration rights agreement. Think of this as a promise from the company that they will work to make these shares easier for the investor to sell later on. They will file a registration statement with the Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, within 45 days after the second board approval. This is to ensure that the investor can eventually sell these shares in the public market without major legal hurdles. The filing also notes that these descriptions are not the full story and the actual agreements contain more details, like usual business promises and protections for both sides. They also agreed not to enter into certain other financing deals without the investor's permission, which kind of suggests this investor wants to be the main game in town for this funding round. This part of the filing basically points back to the previous section. It is saying that this agreement creates a financial obligation for the company. When they sell shares, it is a direct financial transaction, and this section confirms that the shares being sold are not registered. This means they are being sold under a special exemption, usually because the buyer is considered a sophisticated investor. Like the one mentioned here, they are using Section 4A2 of the Securities Act for this. The really juicy details, the actual contract terms for this equity purchase agreement, are filed as Exhibit 10.1. Now let S put on our investor hats and see what this means. Perfect Moment Ltd is looking to raise serious cash up to $25 million. This signals a need for funding likely to fuel growth, expand operations, or maybe even to cover existing expenses. The structure of the deal, where they can call for purchases bit by bit, suggests they might need cash gradually rather than all at once. This can be a smart move to avoid diluting their stock too much if the stock price is fluctuating. However, needing a large chunk of funding and seeking shareholder approval for such a deal can also indicate that the company is generating enough cash flow internally to fund its ambitions. The fact that they are an emerging growth company and are pursuing this type of financing could mean they are in an early or growth stage where significant investment is necessary. The registration rights agreement is a positive for the investor as it smooths their path to potentially selling these shares later. This implies the investor is looking for liquidity down the line. One thing to watch out for with these types of agreements is the potential for additional dilution down the road if the company's stock price doesn't perform well. The investor is essentially being given a way to eventually sell their shares, and if the company's stock tanks, the dilution factor could become more pronounced for existing shareholders. Overall, Perfect Moment Ltd is clearly aiming for growth and needs external capital to get there. The shareholders and board will need to see a compelling plan for how this $25 million will be used to generate value. The flexibility of the purchase agreement is a double edged sword. It gives the company control, but also means the investor is T-locked into a massive upfront commitment, perhaps indicating caution on their part. It is a move that suggests ambition, but also potentially a company that is not yet self-sustaining. Alright, that is our breakdown of Perfect Moment Ltd's latest filing. What is your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Do you think this is a smart move for growth or a sign of financial strain? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.